we have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So what do we have this weekend? Well, we have your weekend Apple news. But before I get into all the news stories, I want to go through all the crazy sales going on right now with Apple. Obviously, the new M4 MacBooks are coming out and a whole bunch of new products in September coming up. And online, you can get some crazy, crazy deals. So I'm going to go through the deals, at least a lot of them at the beginning of the video. And then I'm going to kind of pepper a few in it, later in the video as well. And I'm going to go through a whole bunch of Apple news stories about everything else in the world going on with Apple, all right? So sit back and relax, and let's get into the weekend Apple news. Cheers, everyone. Now, what I want to do is actually just start with a couple MacBooks. These MacBooks are on crazy sale right now just because the M4s are coming out soon, but you got to pay attention to this because these are some really good deals. Let's just start with the first one right here. Take a look at this. This is going to be the M3 Pro chip. So the M3 Pro chip, this is the 14-inch, 512GB SSD, and 18 gigs of RAM. So it's the base model, right? $14.99 right now. So it's $500 off, 25% off. Brand new from Apple. You can see Apple Store right here. When in the world has Apple ever given $500 off? 25% off a product that's still, it's usually $19.99. Can you believe that? It's on Amazon, $500 off. So even if the M4 is coming out, this is going to be way more than you need, really. I think this is an incredible deal. So just pay attention to some of these sales right now because you may want to just forego the M4s. All right, number two here, same thing. This is the 2023, obviously the M3 Pro chip as well. This is the 16.2-inch. You can see it right there. 18 gigs, 512. So it's basically the base model. Again, $500 off right now. 20% off. Obviously, the percentage is a little different, but the same amount of money. $500 off. $19.99 right now. You can get that on sale. So again, you can wait for the M4s if you want, but they're going to cost you an extra $500. And when you're talking, like I said, $14.99, that's 25% of the price. That's a big difference, right? And on this one, it's a little bit less, but still, it's huge. Let's keep moving here, though. The next one now, if you have a lot of money and you probably need this for some kind of work, like a YouTube channel or something, you may consider this one. Again, $500 off. This is the 2023 M3 Max MAX chip, 16-core, 40-core GPU, 16-inch, so it's the bigger one, 48 gigs and 1 terabyte SSD. So those are, obviously that's upgraded, so is the RAM there. $1,340, or what is it? $3,499 right now. This is only 13% off, but the same $500 off right now. So all of the Macs right now have a price of $500 off. You've never seen that. I don't think anyone's ever seen that. Even when a new one's coming out soon, they almost never do this. So now is the time to jump in. I'll have links to this in the description. This could change at any given time, but definitely check these out. Now, the crazy thing is even on Apple's main website, they almost never do this, but take a look over here. I know this is only the M2, but this is the M2 Max. This is going to be the last Studio. We know the new Studio is coming out maybe in 2025, maybe this year. We're not sure yet. But let's just say you want to pick one up for doing some video editing. This is going to be more than sufficient. 32 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD here. $17.99 right now on Apple's website. So even with Apple, think about this. You can go ahead and you can go up to, let's just see here, you can go up to, let me just see here. Let me go up to a terabyte. So you can even add a terabyte to this, and it's still less cost than Apple normally sold this for. So usually it's $19.99. Even with the terabyte, it's $19.79. But it's $17-something now. Right now, let me take that off again. $17.99. So even Apple's main website's giving you a discount right now, which is almost unheard of, right? So definitely even check out the refurbished because they might even have some good deals there as well. And then on top of all this, if you're going back to school and stuff like that, here's a promo right now by Apple as well. It says buy Mac or iPad for college with the educational savings, and then you get a gift card up to $150. So you can definitely check out their educational site if you're kind of in that realm. Who knows if they even check if you are or not. I've heard people that get it even if they're not going to school. Who knows? Anyways, that $150 can get you other stuff. You don't get it, towards the price of the device you buy. You have to apply that to something you buy again. So let's say you buy an iPad, you can go ahead and then buy a pen or a keyboard or something with that money. But still, it's $150 you wouldn't normally have. That's a really good deal right now. They're really, really pushing their products. They want to get rid of them before the M4s come out. All right, so now we're going to go through some actual stories from Apple, just some news and stuff out there, but we're going to sprinkle in some more sales throughout the video, so stay tuned for those. First one here is Mac Rumors. It says iPhone 16 lineup will introduce wave of camera improvements right here for Mac Rumors. So go down here. Here's a list of them. It says the iPhone 16's main camera will remain the same as the iPhone 15, so they're not really a change there. But the iPhone 16 ultra-wide camera will gain a 2.2 aperture up from the 2.4. So that means it's going to actually allow more light in, and you're going to be able to take better pictures in low light for the wide angle camera there. So it says the iPhone 16 and iPhone 16 Plus may support macro photography for the first time. It says the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max will continue to feature a 48 megapixel camera, so nothing's changing there. The iPhone 16 Pro will gain the 5 times Tetra Prism telephoto camera introduced by the iPhone 15 Pro last year, replacing the current 3 times. That's something positive. The iPhone 16 Pro and the Pro Max will feature an upgraded ultra-wide camera with a 48 megapixel sensor. That's really cool. Apple will introduce a new image format called JPEG XL, sitting alongside, all these other ones. So I think that's going to just be a better, less compressed JPEG possibly. You guys tell me. I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm guessing that's what that is. It says iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max will support 3K video at 120 frames per second. That's going to be really cool. The new captive capture button that'll be introduced in all 4 models, designed to be exclusively used by camera apps. Users will apparently be able to select the camera, what the camera button does for the camera. The capture button offers a force-sensitive half press to a developer API that could, for example, lock exposure and focus before fully depressing the button to take the photo. Sliding along the captive button will also perform different actions on it. So overall, it's going to come with that button as well. So these are some changes if you're waiting for the new iPhone 16. If you're a big camera buff, they seem pretty good. There's not a ton of huge ones. They're going to get better cameras for sure. Let's see what it brings. All right, this next one I thought was kind of interesting. Let's just talk about it. So it's from Mac Rumors. It says iCloud is the most popular Apple subscription service in the U.S. So it's kind of interesting, right? So let's just go down and see what they actually have down here. So it's right here. This is interesting. So 64%, they're saying 64% of people that are in the Apple ecosystem use iCloud, and they pay for it. Look at that. That's crazy, right? And look at all the other ones. So I don't know if you'd actually expect this. I just thought this was kind of a cool graph. Apple Music, 42% of people are actually using Apple Music out of the Apple ecosystem. I'm actually not one of them. I don't know. I just use YouTube. But anyways, Apple Care on the iPhone. So Apple Care is 17% on your iPhone. Apple Care on the iPad is 35%. So more people use Apple Care on the iPad. Obviously, it's kind of weird because I don't know which one would be more expensive. I guess if these are pros, maybe. Over here, Apple TV, 32%. Apple products in general, 37%. I'm sorry, that's podcasts. I'm sorry. So Apple Podcasts. We know that the podcasts are losing some of their. It said that they went from the first place of all the podcasts out there to now it's in third place. It's losing kind of positions. So who knows? But 37% use that. And then Apple News, 27%. I wouldn't even guess it would be that high. There's so many free news sources out there. I just thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know. You guys tell me. Was that what you thought? All right. So for all the Mac fans, it does say, let me just put that down. It does say that macOS Sequoia slated to launch in mid-September alongside iOS 18. So long story short, we didn't know when Sequoia was going to come out for macOS. We obviously know iOS 18 is coming out when the phones ship in the middle of September. But normally in normal years, the Mac release of the OS usually comes out possibly it can come out in September, but sometimes October, sometimes November. They're claiming that these are all going to come out at the same time, and it's going to come out for sure in next month, basically. And I guess it's within about 15 days or so. So you can, maybe a little bit more than that, right? 15, maybe 20, 25 days. Overall, though, it's going to come out very, very soon, and they're going to do it all at once. Obviously, I think they're doing this because of all the AI stuff, even though a lot of it's not going to be available on launch. Think about that. Okay, so we got another sale peppered in here. Now, I don't totally recommend this, although if you have a kid, let's say, or you just want a burner kind of iPad, right? Something just to kind of take on trips. You already have a good one and stuff. You might want to go this route. Take a look over here. This is going to be the 9th generation. They still sell it. It's basically here on Apple, not refurbished, brand new from the Apple Store. And $199, so 40% off right now. This is the lowest cost I've ever seen it. We've seen it for $250, $260, somewhere in that range when it was on sale. Now it's $199 brand new. So again, it's still a great device for all it's worth. The thing is the OS, how long is that going to last and stuff like that. But it's still being supported, right? So overall, I think it's a great option for someone that just wants a really, really expensive device. Maybe for your parents or something. Maybe they're older. For your kids, they're going to break it anyway. This is a good device. So I totally recommend that for $199. They still work really good. All right, so let's keep moving here. A couple other, we have a lot more stories, so sit back and relax. Here we go. Apple to require identity verification for sending $500 plus in Apple Cash starting in October. So Apple Cash, you can basically tap and pay somebody. Let's say you have 2 phones, or you can want to go up and pay something, at the market or something. You can do that. It says Apple today began sending out emails to customers, letting them know about upcoming changes that are being made to Apple Cash terms and conditions. So it says starting on October 4th, Apple will require that iPhone and Apple Watch users verify their identity to send more than $500 in peer-to-peer transfers, which includes sending cash via messages and making tap-to-cash payments. It says identity verification is required when sending money from Apple Cash balance or from a supported card in the Apple Wallet. Now, this basically means it says 500, but it says 500 combined is what they're saying. So like you can make, so once you get up to that $500, you can do $30 here, $100 here, $100 here. But once you reach the 500, it sounds like they require verification at that point. And it says basically, it says identity verification for Apple Cash involves taking photos of a driver's license or ID card, as well as answering personal history questions and providing information like home address, date of birth, and social security number. You know, it's one of those things like what could go wrong, right? You're giving all that information out again to another party, just like we saw that huge breach, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I know Apple's a little bit more secure, but overall, you get the idea. You have to give them that information if you want to do more than 500, so just get ready for it. Okay, the next story is completely useless, but you're going to want to hear it because it's funny. So here we go. Apple Insider. iPhone character entry glitch crashes search, but it's not a bad bug. So take a look at this. A recently discovered bug in iOS and iPadOS have been causing brief, basically crashes when a sequence of characters is typed into a specific search field. So stay tuned here. It says on August 21st, basically a security researcher reported that typing the characters of, looks like the quote, and then colon into a space bar within the Settings app or the app library search bar on some of the screens would cause the Apple mobile interface springboard to momentarily crash. The device then reloads quickly, returning to the user lock screen. So basically it crashes your system if you type that in and click enter. I guess it doesn't really say enter, does it? Anyways, you get the idea. Those characters cause it, right? So anyways, that's pretty useless. I mean, someone found this, right? And it, you know, it's pretty obvious, like, right, don't do it or whatever. But then, you know, I kind of went down to the bottom down here, and it's just funny how they kind of summed up this article. This is the funny part, right? Stay tuned for this. He says right here, there's currently no fix to this bug, but it's worth noting that it's not a significant issue. Users can avoid typing these characters into the search bars within the Settings app and the app library on their iPhones and iPads to escape the problem. I mean, hello, Sherlock, right? This guy has to write this in the article telling you, well, you know, you really can avoid this by just not doing it, right? Is it kind of funny? You tell me, post in the comments. Okay, so the next one's another funny one, kind of a rant one again, but then I'll get back to the normal news. But tell me if you think this is funny. So I always tell people that I know, I always say criminals are criminals because they can't do anything else. They can't figure anything else out. They become criminals. People are always like, I don't know if that's true, but this kind of proves it. Over here, Apple Insider. Don't worry about the title on this one. This is basically going to just list a whole bunch of crimes committed by people stealing Apple devices, but these are kind of funny. So we're going to scroll down to this one. Facial recognition on iPhone lock screen leads to arrest of alleged post office robbers. So it says U.S. Postal Inspection Service personnel in Maine used the unique method to arrest two men accused of basically a post office robbery. They used facial recognition technology for a photo on the lock screen of an iPhone left behind by the robber, from the robbery. According to 404 Media, which cited an affidavit, the thieves stole keys, mail, and a money order printer from the post office in Paris, Maine. However, bizarrely, both of them managed to leave their own iPhones in the snow outside of a broken window. You know, this is what I'm saying. So just if they almost had the perfect crime. Not only one of them left their phone, both of them dropped their phones at the crime scene. All right, here we go. That's story number one. Here's one more. All right, story number two. iPhone photos lead to man's car theft conviction. A Connecticut man has been convicted of stealing a car from Rhode Island, and among the evidence against him was an iPhone belonging to the owner that was left in the car. So again, he left his phone in there. So the moral of the story to all the dumb thieves out there, if you're going to be stealing Apple devices, don't leave them at the scene or leave the victim's property at the scene either of what you stole and then have someone come up and find the car with the stolen iPhone in it. You tell me, am I crazy or is this kind of my theory working out here? I think this is the theory that most cops have to work off of, right? That's probably why it's so hard to solve a lot of these crimes is because people don't think rationally like this. They're thieves, right? So they don't think rationally. They don't have the same brains as most people. And this is what you get exactly. Okay, so the next story is a little bit different. So about my generation and about the younger generation, we're so different, right? Take a look over here, 9 to 5 Mac. It says Apple's Find My could be the next trendy social app. It says Apple hasn't launched basically a proper social network since iTunes Ping crashed and burned, but some Apple features nonetheless basically function like social apps, such as iMessage and the shared albums feature in Photos. The latest such trend seems to be made by Apple's Find My. It's saying over here, so it says Ellen Hewitt writes to Bloomberg, I love sharing real-time locations with my friends. Over the last couple of years, I've basically gradually persuaded about 20 different friends to let me track their whereabouts 24/7. and in turn, I give them mine. We mostly use iOS Find My app, plus a few Android users, friends with Google Maps, location sharing. Whenever I want, I can open up the app and gaze affectionately at my collection of friends, little dots on the maps, drifting around the city and country or sometimes on the globe, and finding out where they are or meeting up with them. It goes on to say that people are using this more of kind of a, like not a dating thing, but like basically a socializing thing where you always show people where you're going, they look on the map, and then they can meet you at places without really being announced. They, oh, hey, he's at the mall. I'm going to go to the mall as well. Is it just me again, or is it just this generation? It's kind of, I don't know if I want people tracking my whereabouts all around me. I mean, I guess close friends and family. I understand that the reason for it when you're like obviously tracking maybe a young child or something, but the worry there, like even if you were tracking, let's say a very small kid, I understand, but let's say you have a teenager, for example, and if you're always tracking them all the time, right? It gives you a lot of anxiety. I mean, people do things, right? I mean, they're going to be like, why aren't they moving? Why are they there? Or, I mean, you would never be able to live your life. So it's just a different time, I guess. And it's just interesting how people use it in this day and age. I don't know. You guys post them. Is it something that I think that I'm off on, or is it just something that, it's just the way the times are changing? I think it's the way the times are changing, but is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure. I just don't think I would want people always knowing where I am. It's not that I go anywhere bad or anything like that. It's just kind of, it's almost like creepy to me, but I understand it for like obviously keeping an eye on people. That's a completely different aspect of it. But for socializing, I just don't get that. Okay, for the next one, it's just kind of interesting data. So what kind of phones does Apple sell the most of? Like, I mean, the Pro models or the Max models? Take a look here. This kind of gives a breakdown. It says Apple Insider. Apple shifts iPhone 16 production mix to greatly favor Pro models. Right here. So if you scroll down here, it says right here, as a percentage, the iPhone 16 will have 27% share of shipments. So that's the 16. The Pro Max gets 37%. The Pro hits 30%, and the iPhone 16 Plus gets 6%, which is kind of crazy. And you can see here, here's some of the numbers up here. 24 million units for the 16. The Plus gets 5.8 million. The Pro gets 26 million, and then the Pro Max 33.2 million. So you can see that the Pro and the Pro Max basically are just killing it, right? They're getting almost all of them. So if you just have the standard iPhone, which is weird to me because like even the SE for me is good enough. So I'm just curious. I think the reason for this is because most people probably buy their phones through like, their cell phone provider, right? And they get them for free anyway. But I think if they were paying for them directly, if they're paying all that money, they would probably get just the, the iPhone 16 or the iPhone 15. They wouldn't be getting the Pro or the Pro Max. But since they're kind of, you're paying it over time with your, your cell package, I think that's why they get it. You tell me if I'm wrong. I think that's the reason. I'm just not sure. I don't think that many people care, but maybe they do. Maybe the size really does matter in this case. Who knows? All right, the next one from Apple Insider right here. It says, upgraders concerned about iPhone 16 pricing, Apple Intelligence features. So they asked people, like, if you had an iPhone 15, what are you concerned about? Like, what concerns would make you upgrade, or what are you looking for to upgrade? It's kind of a weird article because it doesn't ask I'll get into why it's kind of weird in a second. But it's basically saying, like, what would make you kind of switch, I guess, is what they're going after. So if I scroll on here, I just thought it was very interesting here. It says, basically, right here, so 30.9% of the people that they said was basically price was really important or was a concern to them. So 30% or 31%. But the next highest thing was new thermal design that will combat overheating. 26.8%, which I thought was interesting because look at the other ones. Increased AI features right here on the iPhone 16, 21.9, way lower than these other two. Faster A-series chip, 21.5. Again, it's a lot less than these two. Then bigger Pro and Pro Max phones. So people want bigger phones. At about 20% of them are 19.3. Action button for all iPhone 16. I didn't believe that would be such a big deal, but 19% here. New capture button for the phone. That's 17%. Wi-Fi 7, 15.6%. Vertical cameras and lenses for standard models with a pill shape. I guess it's a little bit different here, but you get it 13.8%. And then new colors at 13.5%. So colors seem like they're kind of lower on the poll here. But up here is still, the price, I guess, is a really factor. But the reason I don't get this is I don't know if they want it to be lower or the price is too high. It doesn't really say what they mean there. But on everything else, it just is kind of interesting to me that AI isn't way up there. It's about 21% versus, overheating of the iPhone is 27%. So I would never have guessed that. And these are just interesting to me. I hope they are to you. All right, for the next one, and I got to take this little sip here because I always take a sip with these stories. This is the data leak that happened, and this happened in the United States. Obviously, you probably heard this by now. Take a look from 9to5Mac. It says data leak affecting everyone in the US, UK, and Canada was even worse than we thought. If you haven't heard here, let's just go down here. Basically, it says, hard as it may be to imagine, the massive data leak, which appears to include personal data from everyone in the US, UK, and Canada, got even worse. So, basically they stole, well, let me just go down here. So It says each record consisted of the following information: a person's name, mailing address, and social security number, with records including additional information like names associated with that person, whatever. But now it's saying, but on Krebs on Security reports that one of the company's resellers managed to accidentally publish its own login details for the database. So right here on the homepage, so another NDP data broker which shares access to the same consumer records inadvertently published the password to its backend database in a file that was freely available on its homepage until today. A reader from Krebs Security, that is a sister NPD property, the background search basically, whatever, was hosting an archive that included usernames and passwords to the site administrative passwords. So basically, it says right here, the exposed archive, which was named members.zip, indicates records check users were all initially assigned the same 6-digit character password and instructed to change it, but many did not. So basically, they left their credentials in a file that was basically called, let me just see here, members.zip on the homepage of their website. So for people could get in there and steal more data. So this keeps unraveling, and it keeps showing you like all of our information was trusted with one company, and then all that information was shared with a bunch of other companies. So it's just all floating out there, and they're just getting hacked left and right. So what can you do? Obviously, it's hard to say, right? I mean, it's very difficult and very frustrating. They do in here say, like right here, if you want to check whether your data has been exposed, those residents in the U.S. can use one of two free lookup services, npdbreach.com and pentester.com. Now, you can take a look at that. I have no affiliation with them. I don't even trust them, because if you go in there, you're going to have to put in your information again, and who knows who they are, right? So anyways, I'm just reporting that's what you have to do if you want to know if you've been breached. But I think we all have. It said everyone in the United States, so I don't know who wouldn't be. Okay, for the next article, now I love Apple, but Apple tends to over-engineer everything, right? They make it more complicated than it needs to be. Right over here, Apple Insider. Future Apple headsets may use liquid lenses to correct vision. So here's showing the Vision Pro. Apple's working on a technology that could allow you to ditch the expensive Zeiss inserts needed to correct your vision. On the Apple Vision Pro, future headsets could dynamically change focus based on what you're looking at. So it says liquid lenses that would actually change depending on what you're looking at. Obviously, like you know how there's glasses now where you look down, you can read, you look up, you can see far. It's going to basically do that through some kind of electronic liquid crystal. Now, let me just say this. It's a little bit different than what I'm talking about, but I actually have the Vitor glasses right here. I did a whole review. Check out my channel. You can find these on there. These are like $450, right? They have some dials up here, just at the very top. And I can either use these with my contacts in, or I can use them with my contacts out. And I have like negative 2.5 vision or whatever. I don't know what that means, but it's not great when I take my contacts out. But with those little dials, I can use that thing with my contacts in or with them out, and I can see it perfectly clear and perfectly fine just by moving a couple little dials. Again, here's a case where Apple might do it, with this liquid crystal and stuff, but that's why it's $3,500. They just give me those little dials. I can dial in my vision, and I'm fine. I don't need to get corrective lenses. I don't use any corrective lenses on that, even though I have contacts. So I don't know enough, I don't know enough about the technology and all that stuff and how this would add to the cost. But at the end of the day, I think a simple technology solution like this, while it's not super elegant, you could hide it somewhere. I think it's good enough. Okay, the next one's just, I guess it's good news, right? Right here, Apple Insider. Customers can now extend Apple Care up to 45 days after it expires. So it used to be 30 days, now it's 45 days. So if you know that your Apple Care is going to expire and your system, let's say you see something is getting pretty bad with it at the very end of Apple Care, and you may not be able to get in time and this and that and the other thing, you have now 45 days up to extend that up to in case something happens, so you can extend your Apple Care and get it fixed. So for all it's worth, I thought that was something it's not really going to be talked about that much, but it's good to know if you're in a pinch, something breaks at the last week or 2 or 3 weeks that you have Apple Care. It always seems to do with Murphy's Law, right? And then you can go ahead and just extend it a little bit longer and get it fixed. This next one we've talked about a few times on the channel, and it seems like it's getting pushed back again, so we thought it was going to be, and here it is. Mac rumors, it says, Sequoia folding all-screen MacBook delayed until late 2027 at the earliest. So who knows? It says Apple's rumored foldable Mac, which would look something like this. Take a look at it. Won't arrive until the end of 2027 or 2020 at the earliest because of technology or technical challenges, according to the latest publication by Apple analyst Ming-Choi Choi. So he looks at this. Long story, this is a concept by Astropad. I just want to give them credit as well. But take a look at that. That would be kind of what they're thinking it's going to be. So it's going to be kind of almost like a replacement or a crossover between the iPad and the MacBook. But if you look at this picture really closely, I don't understand how you're going to use that device. That just to me looks like two iPads, right? I mean, it doesn't have a physical keyboard, and I'm not gonna, no matter how good it gets, I don't think it's gonna ever be good enough to type on a piece of glass. I mean, you're gonna get some haptic feedback. You tell me, would you be interested in a product like this? How would you use it? I mean, could you type on something like this? I mean, it just seems like unless there was some type of raised keys where you could put your fingers, you could tell even where the keys were without looking at the keyboard like a normal typist can. I don't think this is going to work for a lot of people. It's cool, definitely. I give you that credit, but would you use this? I don't know. I mean, I think that I'd rather see like more improvements in the normal MacBooks, right, than have something like all their energy go into something like this. But I mean, I could be wrong. People might like it. You guys can post in the comments. All right, we've talked about this a few times, but this is confirmation finally right here. It says Apple Insider, India will assemble iPhone 16 Pro, iPhone 16 Pro Max for the first time. You can see it in here. I talked about in the last article how India said that Apple was like its biggest growing company of all time in the last 50 years or something because of this. So Apple is continuing to expand manufacturing in India, and the country will reportedly produce the iPhone 16 Pro and the Pro Max. Originally, India had only manufactured older iPhones because of avoided import tax. So long story short, they're going to be doing these new ones. It does say, though, that it's not going to be initial. The initial phones are going to be shipping next month or the month after, whenever they're coming out, like in a month. They're going to be coming from China. And then later in the year, India is going to start producing them, and then they're going to come out. So you're going to see on the box, it's going to say like made in China or made in India, developed in California. So you'll know where your iPhone came from. I'm curious, will there be any quality differences or issues? I'm guessing not with Apple, obviously. But Apple is diversifying. They figure that, again, India is less of a threat than China as far as future problems happening and things being cut off. So they're moving their stuff over there. It's a very, very kind of slow, you have to walk on a tightrope, very difficult, so China doesn't get mad enough that you're moving stuff out. So I don't know. They got to somehow, do this, and it looks like they're still moving forward. Okay, with obviously all the sales I had talked about before, they're mostly MacBooks and stuff like that, and an iPad. We have some watches here now. I'm not saying I'll recommend this, but if you want to get a good deal on a watch and just don't want to spend full price, everything's kind of on sale. So this is the Apple Watch Series 9 right now. Smartwatch right here, the normal one. What is this? It doesn't say the size of it. It does say 41 millimeter right now. So it's usually $399, $299. So that's 25% off. Again, you're seeing another 25% off an Apple product. $100 off on a it used to be $400 products, huge for Apple, right? So if you want to watch, I mean, that is the 9 series. I don't think the next one, it's going to have maybe some AI capabilities, but it's probably not going to have anything close to like what the phones will. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference, unless I would wait to see what the sensors are going to be, the new ones on the new watches. But if you just don't care, you just want a basic watch for a very inexpensive cost, well, it's not that cheap, right? But still, $299 is not a bad cost there. All right, let's keep moving. All right, and this next one's interesting. I mean, just to know what's coming out, but it's also one of those things where I wish they would focus their time on the things that we're actually using. You can debate it, but here we go, 9 to 5 Mac. It says Apple's first robot product to be made by Foxconn report says. So don't worry about that. It says a report earlier this week said that plans for Apple's first robotic product has been accelerating in the form of a hybrid iPad HomePod product. You can see it here. So it's probably like this base. You put on your iPad on it and you can play music. It's got a speaker on it. It rotates to follow you if you're on a call. This is what they're thinking it's going to be doing, right? This is what they think. So we kind of scroll down. It says Mark Gurman reports that Apple has a team of several hundred people working on this. He calls it a pricey tabletop home device that combines an iPad-like display with a robotic limb. So he says it explains that the product's display will be able to tilt up and down and spin 360 degrees. So overall, it's just, you can get the idea of what it looks like. We showed you there, right? Then this guy down here says, I express my own hope that this is actually a simpler product than it sounds. What would make sense is the approach Google took on its tablet, a speaker to which the tablet magnetically attaches. So this guy wants a simpler, more affordable device, not that pricey device, and I totally agree with him. The funny thing is so that I was reading through this article, and I think they're going to make this robotic arm, and it's going to cost, everyone's saying it's a lot of money and whatever. And then take a look here for a second. I'm just going to play this video really quickly. You can see it down here. Let me actually mute this. All right, so right here, Belkin. This is made by Belkin right now, and that's the image that they actually took. So this is a product you can get available right now. You can put your iPhone on it. It will travel around with you. It says it works with FaceTime and other popular video conferencing. It's got a MagSafe charger on it. It's rechargeable. It's got all this stuff built into this, and this is by Belkin. It's called Belkin's Auto Tracking Stand Pro, which you can get right now. And in fact, I went over here, and it's right here. On Amazon, Belkin Auto Tracking Tripod, $173 only. There it is, right? So Apple, again, over engineering. They're going to be developing this product that's going to be similar to this, but this device is already out there. So what are they doing, right? Maybe just buy Belkin and then call it a day and be done with it. I just wish they would put a little bit more effort into some of the products that we really, really want out there, like more RAM in our MacBooks, right? Some kind of a breakthrough with screen technology, stuff that we're going to use every single day. This is cool. I don't want Apple to stop innovating. But like he said, he's got 100 people working on this thing, and it's a product that's already out there. So you don't really need this. We need something different. I don't know if people want robots in their home in this day and age, but I mean, I get it. They got to keep innovating. I totally get it. But this product already exists. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the news for the weekend. I hope you guys are having a great weekend as well. Anyways, we'll talk to you in the next one. Check out my channel. I did a whole bunch of reviews. I do tons of tech products. I do different videos. I don't just do this. I do a whole bunch of different videos, training videos, tech reviews, tech showcases. I have a whole bunch of SSDs coming out, SANs and computers and you name it. So just subscribe if you guys can, help the channel, and definitely leave a comment if you can. And we'll talk to you in the next one. We have a little more fun on the weekends, and I'm a little more cynical. On the other ones, I do real reviews or at least real showcases and try to promote the products. Here I have a little fun because it's the weekend, right? We'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.